What's up, y'all, and welcome to Sensual TV. So, this is the first episode or the first topic at hand with Sensual TV. But first, let me talk about Sensual TV and what Sensual TV is going to be about. So, Sensual TV is a segment that I want to create where we dive into topics that are first focused on sensuality and also sexuality, but from a more so spiritual, psychological, and sociological standpoint. So I know that was a whole bunch of logicals, but I kind of want to go deeper when we're talking about sensuality and sexuality, because a lot of topics may just be kind of surface level, like just talking about sex and stuff like that. And not to say that we're not going to talk about sex, but I kind of want to talk about a variety of topics that go beyond sex in the whole sensuality, sexuality world. So that's that. So let's go ahead and get into the topic at hand, which is sensuality versus sexuality. Now, usually people think that these two are one and the same, but these are two distinct things, even though they are interchangeable, meaning that they are, often get brought up together a lot. But I kind of want to go over the differences in what sexuality is and what sensuality is. So without further ado, we're gonna get into that, and then I kind of want to dive in Black women's sensuality and sexuality for a moment. After we learn the basis, what sensuality and sexuality is, I kind of want to talk about what it means or how sexuality and sensuality is expressed as a Black woman. And why is it important? It's important for everybody, but me being a Black woman, I want to go more so into Black women's sensuality and how it's displayed and how it's expressed and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so first things first, sensuality. So sensuality is more so on the joy, the happiness, the expression, the bodily and sensory pleasure. And when I say pleasure, I'm not coming from a sexual aspect. Pleasure basically meaning happiness, that joy, that blissfulness, that satisfaction of what you are maybe receiving or expressing. Sensuality has more to do with that versus it just being sex. So for example, a way that you are able to express your sensuality would be maybe singing. You like to sing, you like to dance, you like to play the piano, violin, you like to frolic in your garden. Shout out to the frolickers out there. I seen some people and I'm like, that's interesting. Like, do your thing. I am not opposed to expressing yourself. As long as you're doing things that are true to you, do you. But no, seriously, like expressing yourself is a big part of sensuality. So one way, and a way that we experience sensuality is maybe when we're doing certain activities, or say if we're sightseeing, we are through our senses, through our eyes. You're looking at something that's aesthetically pleasing to you, like some mountains, a sunset. That's one way to fulfill your joy through sight. Smell. You like the smell of vanilla, you like the smell of lavender, you like the smell of tangerines. That's one way to witness or experience sensuality. The taste, you like the taste of, I don't know which way to taste. You like to taste of burgers, get you a nice little plant-based burger. Or if you, my carnivore folks, if y'all, flick your little steak, hey, it is what it is. French fries, a salad, whatever you like to eat, that's your way of experiencing sensuality through taste. Also touch, textures, feeling on different textures like cotton, silk, and hearing, when we hear certain tones of voices. So I know y'all ladies probably seen that man. It's like this one dude, and he had this deep voice. It was this Asian dude, and I don't really know how to feel because of what he was saying, but people I seen like this kind of in the quote retweets, because it was on Twitter when I seen it, like people was going crazy because of the tone of his voice. certain tones turn that thing on. But no, certain tones can be very pleasurable. And again, it's not gonna always be sexual, even though certain tones may turn you on in that way. Certain things can just feel good, like a nice soothing tone. Listen to somebody's voice, a singer, listening to people sing, or just hearing nature. That gives you that comfort, that warmth. Those are just a couple of things and how we can experience sensuality, and that's pretty much sensuality in a nutshell.
Okay, so I was pretty much saying that sensuality wrapped up in a nutshell, so let's go ahead and get into sexuality.
So as I was saying, so with sexuality, it's more so has to do with who you are, your behaviors, your desires, what you're attracted to. And your sexuality is biological. It is affected through your psyche, psychological, and also sociological. So having to do with your environment, your culture. That's gonna have a lot to do with your sexuality as well. That's why, a lot of things that, we are born with, but then there's a lot of things that can affect our sexuality just depending on who we're around, what we feed ourselves, what we watch, and a lot of other different things. So that's just kind of talking about sexuality. So again, it is a difference between sexuality and sensuality. So hopefully I explained it well enough to where you are able to kind of determine the differences. So again, sensuality has more so to do with our senses and how we experience pleasure and happiness and how we express pleasure and happiness. So again, a way that we experience things sensually is, again, let's say through eyesight. Let's say we're watching something and something is aesthetically pleasing to us, or we're going sightseeing, or whether it's through hearing and we're hearing music, or we're hearing nature sounds. And the way that we express our sensuality is through dance. Maybe it's through yoga. Maybe it's through singing. If you're talented enough to sing, even if you can't really sing, like that, you can still express yourself through singing, maybe through poetry, journaling, writing, shoot, even cooking. Cooking is very sensual, especially when you're cooking from the heart with love, from your soul. That's why we got the whole concept of soul food, right? So that's to kind of tell you what sensuality and recap what sensuality is again. And again, sexuality is more so has to do with who we are biologically.
Okay, so my camera cut off, but basically I was just kind of recapping of what sexuality is and how it involves biological, psychological, sociological, and so many other things and elements that affects our behaviors and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and get back into the video.
So now let's kind of talk about Black women expressing their sexuality and sensuality. So a Black woman expressing her sexuality may look something like this.
I ain't lie, my biggest fan. Baby, I'm the man and you know I am. Trap life, she used to dance.
I'm ready to do what I do. Ooh, this type of shit got you wildin'. Last minute trips to the islands. Drip, drip, drip when you're sliding. Bip, 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 baby, ride it.
I'm running through your nigga house like the Tomb Raider. You gotta pass around, nigga, he a hot potato. I told him eat it or get out, that's your ultimatum. But stop licking my pussy hard, that shit aggravating. He ain't mine, I just let him eat me out from time to time. Call it pussy booty tang, cause I got the running kind. He can't compare me to none of these bitches. Got that Beyonce, that dream girl, that this.
And a Black woman expressing her sensuality may look something like this.
No, I wouldn't wanna. It's my heart, my mind, and my body saying, my mind, and mine. Yeah. My mind, and mine.
Potato. We keep on tell you how I feel. We keep bringing out the best in me. You give me the sweetest taboo.
So, for example, sexuality could be me saying, I'm gonna just give an example. I'm into men, or I love women, or I love both men and women. That would be a simple, basic line, just, expressing your sexuality. And that's just the basic. Sensuality, me expressing my sensuality would be something like, oh, I enjoy the sun on my body. I love the way the sun feels on my skin. I love to dance. I love to do yoga. Those are some of the basics when it comes to expressing your sensuality. So again, sexuality has to do with sexual intercourse, of course, your sexuality as well. So whether it be homosexuality, heterosexuality, bisexuality, it has to do with who you are, your genetic makeup, how you think, your behaviors towards other people, and as like I said, sociological. So having to do with your environment and your culture and all that stuff. And then sensuality is more so how you sense the world, how you sense pleasure and happiness, whether it be, I'm gonna give these same examples because the sun radiating on your body, feeling the sun on your skin, expressing yourself through movement, through playing instruments. So hopefully I'm making some sense here. Hopefully y'all are able to be like, okay, this is sexuality and this is sensuality. So now I see the difference, I understand the difference, and now I'm able to see the similarities as well. Just to get some examples of some women in history that express their sensuality. We have women such as Janet Jackson, we got Eartha Kitt, we got Dorothy Dandridge. Those women express their sensuality as well as sexuality through their music, through their acting, through different TV shows and films. They were women who was all about expressing their sensuality and sexuality in their own unique way. So those are just some examples, and let's get some modern day women. We got SZA, we got Summer Walker, and her album. Her album is everything. Her album is so soothing. That's just been the vibes for these past couple of days. It's a lot of Summer Walker. I like her storytelling with this album. I love the ambiance. I love how it just makes me feel warm, but it also tells a story. And you can tell like she's getting wiser. So shout out to Summer Walker, you doing your thing. But SZA, Summer Walker, who else? Tiana Taylor, she is such a beautiful woman to me. I love how she's just authentically her. She gives you a little edge with her sensuality as well. It's very ageist. What the hell? Edgy. It's very tomboyish to a certain extent, and I love it. And who else? I'm trying to think of some other women. Of course, you got City Girls. You got Megan Thee Stallion, who some people may say they're a little bit more vulgar with their sensuality and their sexuality, but different strokes for different folks. I'm a fan of them. And who else? There's so many other women out here that's just doing their thing in their own way. So I just I enjoy it all. You know, not everyone's gonna like how people express themselves. Some people may take a liking towards this person versus this person, but as long as we not doing no catty shit, no competition and comparison, it's room for everybody. All right, so hopefully I explained sensuality and sexuality to a point where you understand the differences, but also you see the similarities. And also gave some examples of it as well, so you can further understand. So hopefully I did my job, and hopefully you learned something. All right, y'all, and I will see y'all next time. Mwah.
Claps.